Okay, hi, hello, what's up? I'm Louis Beasley. This is my YouTube channel, and when I grow up, I want to be a musical researcher. I am about to go into my third year at the London College of Music. I'm studying a form of contemporary music production, electronic music production, and I think after my first year there, I realised I wanted to take my musical research further. I want to go on to PhD levels and study a bunch of stuff, and that's what I'm going to be going through with you today. So I have made this mind map here, detailing a little bit about what I want to actually go on and research. On YouTube, I've seen a lot of jazz and a lot of classical researchers, but not that many contemporary researchers. And I want to be sort of detailing my journey with a bunch of YouTube videos based off this mind map and stuff that's going to be added to this mind map in the future. So I'm going to start off by talking about my hypotheses, which are over here in this nice light blue colour. I have written, since timbre is determined by a harmonic series, does timbre imply harmony? Basically, Andrew Huang did an amazing video discussing what the harmonic series is. It's essentially every note that you hear, its sound is determined by a lot of overtones, which are essentially frequencies that aren't the dominant note, but that add on to it to give it its sound. By manipulating those overtones, by manipulating the timbre of the instrument, can you imply harmonies? By adding two overtone series together of the same note, can that create a sort of denser harmonic tone in itself? And all of that. I want to explore how harmony can be implied by timbre, because I think it is implied by timbre to a certain extent. That goes on to the next one. If timbre implies harmony, and harmony reflects tension and release necessary for narrative and impressionist musical works, can narratives be told and musical reflections of real elements be made simply through the manipulation of timbre? Can you have one piece looping for, say, 10 minutes, where it's the exact same sort of loop of material that doesn't change harmonically or melodically, but does change in the way that the sounds feel over time? And can that create enough of an emotional response to convey narrative or to create sort of musical worlds in the same way people such as Ravel and Debussy have done in their impressionist classical works, and in the same way film music works both diegetically and non-diegetically in order to convey narrative alongside visual stimuli. And then finally, if tone and timbre is described via the medium of colour, can that colour be standardised through the experience of synesthetes, so people who have a connection within their brain which relates music to colour in some way? There are multiple ways this can come about. So some people can relate specific tones, so like A, B, C, to different colours. That normally is seen in people with perfect pitch. I know that Adam Neely, the jazz YouTuber, has a relation to staff notation and colour, which is quite interesting. And I also think that some musical synesthetes will relate tone colour to actual colours as well. And through this, I think we can create better animated audio-visual experiences, and also create a better understanding of what tone colour is and what colours you are adding to a piece when you make something, say, heavier, or when you make something, say, lighter. If you have a more sort of spectral analysis of these things, it might help a lot with all forms of composition, not just contemporary composition. So let's talk about my short-term goals. I've set up these 5 short-term goals here. This is 5 weeks of work for me. I'm planning to do a video every week where I set aside 2 hours a day, Monday to Friday, in which to read at least 10 sources and create a small literature review based on these talking points here. And when I've created that small literature review, I will be making a video on what I find is the most interesting thing, hopefully creating a decent amount of content for this channel, and also an underlying understanding for myself of what these things are so that I can take them on further. So the first video I'm going to be doing is what is the current academic understanding of harmony. I need to research more into harmony and what definitively harmony is, what creates that tension and release, the ideas behind negative harmony, the ideas behind microtonal harmony, especially because I'm not going to be dealing with precise equal temperament when I am utilizing stuff like EQ to add to the timbre of a thing and imply harmony in that way. So I need to understand all of that, and I'm hoping to have a better understanding by next week when I release my video. Secondly, what is musical impressionism? I like the idea of, studying specifically water, for example, which has been done by quite a lot of musical impressionists, classical musical impressionists in the past, like Debussy and Ravel especially. Like Debussy had, I think, dancing, reflections in the water, and Ravel had playing water, or the jus d'antan, or whatever. So those two people specifically focused on water in those two pieces, and I want to see whether I can apply timbral manipulation to either add onto those pieces to make them better and to make them more accurate to the subject matter, or to also make my own pieces that reflect those ideals. I need to understand what the current academic understanding of timbre is, because if I can understand that, I can add to it in the future. Ideally, and this is where the next point comes in, how is sheet music currently analysed? Ideally, I would like to start setting up a way for abstract analysis of timbre within a sort of physical medium like sheet music, so that we can better understand timbre and how timbre can be used in musical pieces. And then finally, what is the current academic understanding of musical narrative? If I'm attempting to tell narratives in my music through timbre, I need to understand how narratives have been told in the past through music, and whether or not musical narrative is as important as I am making it out to be, or whether or not there is less of an understanding into what musical narrative actually is. I've also written here long-term goals. These are things that I want to get into, and hopefully these are projects that you will see me getting into on this channel. Firstly, starting a band. I have been talking with one of my sound engineer friends about getting this started, and hopefully we can get this started over the next year and get at least a few concept albums out or something. Basically, making music where the mixing desk is used as the primary instrument within a live performance. My sound engineer friend has got a 22 channel, or is thinking of buying a 22 channel mixing desk. I'm not sure where he is right now with that. What these mixing desks allow you to do is they not only allow you to control the volume of a track being sent to them using the volume sense, but they also allow you to, through the use of guitar pedals, for example, aux through the dry signal to this guitar pedal so that you can add extra effects on it, which will change the timbre of that dry signal. And then you can volume automate that back, or you can change dials on the guitar pedals using them in a sort of modular synthesizer way to create a sort of evolving sound and an evolving piece. Another thing I would quite like to get into is with an understanding of tone color. the audio-visual aspects of music, whether that be in VR or whether that be in traditional sort of animation and or film studies. I would like to create animated ballets with a focus on the musical exploration of water, because water has quite a lot of color content within it, and also because water is a very interesting thing to look at musically. So I've got some ideas if we were to do a ballet, for example, of The Count of Monte Cristo, which is a really, really good French classic. If you haven't read it, it's a bit long, but I would advise you guys to read it because it's very, very cool. And then a concept piece in my head, which I'm just going to leave you with the title here. Sometimes Fires Go Out. I've got ideas for this. It's a story that I think would be cool to tell, and it would be cool to tell in this sort of ballet medium kind of thing. And then finally, musical paintings. This is quite an abstract idea, but if we were to do the analysis with synesthetes who specifically relate musical aspects to colour, if they do provide a standardized colour system, in that, aside from some outliers, because not all human experience is the same, if they do sort of homogenize into colour palettes for different tonal and different timbral aesthetics, I think it'd be cool to make digital art out of those in relation to the harmonies and the timbres over time. You could do this through visual coding software, so coding software designed for musical visuals, stuff like processing. If you can get the right globals to correspond to the right timbral aspects, and if you can create a language in which you can talk about timbre in a way that a computer can make reference to it and apply it to this color palette. Essentially, if it sounds like this, then put a color like this. It might be cool to make abstract pieces of art through the music that you're making, and then in the same way have digital artists who are making their art have it in a way that they can make music with their art via taking this processing data and putting similar globals, but in the reverse way, into a musical coding software like Sonic Pi, and then having these sort of photos scanned in that way to create generative musical pieces through this coding software. I think that would be, it's a very long way off, and it's very, very end game, but I think in doing that we can not only understand musical language better, but also have inclusiveness between the arts and have them be sort of homogeneous in a way, and create less of a disconnect between someone who strictly understands film and someone who strictly understands music. It's a way of sort of unifying the artistic experience, which I think would be quite cool to do. So as I said, my next video is going to be something to do with harmony. I'm going to try and make it in a content way, so it's not just going to be like a lecture on harmony. It's going to be doing something that I think people are going to be interested in, that also relates to the studies that I have undertaken. With these videos, I am also going to be posting the literature reviews that I have written in a shared Google Documents or something, so that people can actively go and see my academic but not peer-reviewed writings. I want to be strictly clear, these literature reviews will have no peer review to them. They will not be officially published, so if you are referencing them, they won't be an official academic reference. If you do stumble across my channel, I've got 10 subscribers right now. It's probably not gonna take off or anything. This is just a way for me to look back, see what I've been doing, maybe have mental refreshers, and I can watch the video and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what this bit of writing was based off, kind of thing, and then ultimately apply that to academic study in the future, because I do want to go on to hopefully study this at PhD level. All of these long-term goals, aside from the band, would be in the context of PhD. I'd be getting these pieces of media out there alongside, hopefully, hopefully academic writings. So yeah, if you think that sounds interesting, feel free to subscribe, do all that good shit, and I think that's the video over. Cool.